We're in for a fun time with TISM. And Ron Hitler-Barassi, Humphrey B. Flaubert, it's good to have you here at Noise 11.
Look, I understand, Paul, that you've had some thoughts about last night's ARIAs. You felt very strongly, I gather.
Well, I was pretty pissed off you guys weren't mentioned.
You know, I've got some thoughts about the ARIAs. I mean, obviously, I don't know anything about any of the music, but I'm very interested in the spelling. So, you know, one of the big winners on the night was Royal Otis. Royal Otis spelled their first name with an E, Royel. And, you know, I was a bit disappointed. I mean, I know there's a convention of misspelling in the history of music, in the great canon of music. You know, you've got your Beatles, spelling Beatles. You know, you've got Led Zeppelin, who left out the A. You've got Motley Crue, you know, misspelt there. You've got that band, if you like this band, you're a pretentious knob, spelt Velvet Underground. But, you know, I'm not so much going against that convention of misspelling. I just think that Royal Otis didn't go all the way. Like, they spelt Royal with an E, but Otis was spelt as in Otis Redding. You know, guys, what were you thinking? Like, what about Oatis? Well, you know, perhaps an umlaut in there somewhere. I was also disappointed that Akinmonth didn't win more ARIAs, because I'd like to hear the presenters say Akinmonth 50 times fast. It's got a beautiful consonance about it. And you know what? There was also a lot of capitalisation going on, Paul, and I know you picked up on that. All these bands capitalising their names, Rufus Du Sol, you've got your Cyril, you've got your 1-4, you've got your Fisher. The only person with any kind of sensible artistic approach to that was the Kid Laroi. The Kid Laroi, spells the first half in sentence case, and then the Laroi part is in uppercase. And I think the Kid is there kind of showing us all the benefit of consensus. You can have the first half of the my name in your sentence case, and I'm going for the second half in the uppercase. So hats off to the Kid Laroi. I also really like the French pronunciation of Laroi.
Well, I thought you were leading up to a travelogue so we could start talking about the hearse on its way to Springvale and the 80-minute journey that it took.
No, we weren't at the ARIAs last night. We're actually at the ARIANS, Paul, which was for eclectic and far-right groups, and they support their favourite artists and stuff. And Tony was there. Tony was at the ARIANS last night. Funnily enough, Troye Sivan won last night as well at the ARIANS. So there's a turn-up.
It's a Christmas miracle.
It's the only way to describe it. At a gathering of far-right groups, Troye Sivan, the artist at the ARIANS, also won at the ARIAs. Now, that's what Christmas is all about, I think.
It certainly is. It certainly is.
It's good that you picked up on the metaphor, Paul, the metaphor of going in the hearse from some place, I think it's about 76 minutes away from Springvale Cemetery, and the conversation between the hearse drivers is recorded at the start of the album, leading to a metaphorical conceit, as if every song on the album was from a cassette that they found in the back of the hearse. And that conceit continues through the album to the denouement, where TISM's meditations on art and especially death are concluded as they drive into Springvale Cemetery. So congratulations on your acuity there, Paul.
Well, I was wondering where you start if you're 78 minutes away from Springvale.
It's a literal reading of it, Paul, and I think that just like people who read the Bible literally, you've misunderstood the nature of the metaphor. It doesn't matter, Paul. All that matters is the running time of the album exactly replicates the time of which the hearse drivers take to arrive at the cemetery. So I can leave the rest up to your imagination. I think that was Wellington Road you were searching for before, Humphrey. At Five Ways.
Thanks very much. Yes. Wellington
Road. It's
Road.
Dandenong Road, Ferntree Gully Road, Wellington Road.
I think there's so much goodness to be found there. Really. My first unrequited love was just up the road from there, and I think that's probably why there's a certain emotional pull to it, and also, when I saw Blokathon Patterson get his head kicked in. That also an emotional pull to it. And yes, I think obviously the 78 minutes to Springvale is a metaphor. But I would encourage all TISM fans to set out on a picnic in any direction from the cemetery, and at the point where you reach 78 minutes, play the album. I think that sort of will enhance the listening experience, much like sort of watching The Wizard of Oz whilst listening to Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
Well, you've been enjoying life, haven't you? You've just done the tour of some pretty impressive places, including the Maya Music Bowl in Melbourne, which must have been a bit of fun.
A lot of history in the sacred catacombs of the Maya Music Bowl, there had. I found Michael Gudinski's wife locked in one of the cupboards. So, I think
it's like Jane Eyre, isn't it?
It is, yeah, exactly, yeah. So, it's changed us a bit, Paul. I think you'll find that we'll never play live again, but that's not that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Now, do we have a favourite TISM song title? I would have to say mine would have to be I Rooted a Girl Who Rooted a Guy Who Rooted a Girl Who Rooted a Guy Who Rooted a Girl Who Rooted Shane Crawford. It's exhausting just saying the title.
It is. You should be the person filling out the APRA forms at the end of every year. What are we doing? Like, if only we were The Cure and had these sort of monosyllabic song titles, air, breathe, tree, grass. I only did that because they fucking, spent about 20 minutes doing their publishing form at the end of the year, and they just laugh at these crackpots like TISM with 200-word song titles.
I think Pearl Jam did it on their first album too, didn't they? Alive, Breathe, Once.
Exactly, yeah. I think we should dispense with song titles altogether, really. Just give each song a number.
Well, you had the album with nothing on it, didn't you? That was a fine way to reach the fan base, and very unintrusive, isn't it? If you've got an album that you can put on and put the needle down and it plays from start to finish and there's nothing there.
Yeah, Paul, people today don't have time for music. They don't have time for anything, really. And so we were sort of doing our bit. And it's been proven by the millions that have come in via Spotify. I was having a chat to Daniel Eck the other day when we were together in the sauna. And I said, Daniel, those emails you send to bands saying, good news, you've had 123.7 plays this last calendar year. We were having a great laugh at that because some are just rolling in the money, largely thanks to our dealings with a military junta. But yeah, that album, one.
Well, the album you mentioned actually is quite old-fashioned now in that there was actually a physical product. It was a vinyl disc with nothing on the vinyl disc. Now, we've revolutionised our new album, which can be purchased soon, is a completely virtual album where you get nothing. You just get told the title and the length of the songs, and from there on, the listener provides the rest. It's completely democratic. It's putting it finally over to the people. You pay us a certain amount of money. You get the permission to think of. I think the first song was called "Who Was the Greek Hero Who Did His Achilles," and the second song, it goes for 23 minutes, by the way. And the second song is even longer opus. It was called "Why Doesn't Warrigal Road Go to Warrigal?" And both those together, this new album of ours is actually called "Night Train to Venus." It's a completely virtual album, and it's pretty old-fashioned, having actually vinyl with nothing on it. That's a bit traditional for us. We're interested in moving into the future.
But it's a beautiful use of the air guitar, though.
Oh, yes, that's right. Especially one with the double neck, I think. The double neck air guitar. We wanted an octo neck air guitar, like where you've got 8 necks, the old octo neck. And if people want to play the octo neck on "Who Was the Greek Hero what was the name of the Greek hero who did his Achilles? 23 minutes, I think it was. They would have to send us an extra amount of money for that privilege, I'm afraid.
I think, the virtualness of the album is summed up by Night Train to Venus. When you think about Night Train to Venus, I want your viewers to think long and hard about that phrase, Night Train to Venus. That's all.
Paul, we've got to move on because our hectic interview schedule tells us we've got some fucking chump called Greg Phillips who I think is the Work Experience kid, and it's something called Australian Musician. Do you know anything about Australian Musician? Why would they be fucking interviewing us? Musician? Don't they get it?
To talk about the air guitar.
It's a feature article.
Australian air musician.
Guitar, Paul.
It's Australian air musician, yes.
Yeah. Well, Greg Phillips went before me in an interview this morning, and he went 5 minutes over in his interview and kept me waiting. So this is where I get even, Greg Phillips.
Yeah, good on you.
This is Stevens, Greg Phillips. One more question.
Test cricket for Australia. Didn't he play Test cricket for Australia, Greg? Yeah. And now he finds himself on Australian Air Musician magazine.
Australian Air Musician. We should start Australian Air Musician magazine in competition against it.
Yeah, I think, you've just got a million interview possibilities with Australian Air Musician magazine, don't you? I mean, why bother with all the fucking Tommy Emmanuel?
Subscribe, $25 a month. That's it. Yeah. You can interview anyone you like in your head.
That is true.
Young people these days, they don't understand what that's like.
Yeah. One final question then. Let's talk about the 2 hits, Greg the Stop Sign and I'll Never Be an Old Man River, and the fact that after all these years, nearly 30 years down the track, there you are at the Myer Music Bowl performing both those songs up on stage. What sort of audience reaction do you get for those songs that are probably the 2 best-known TISM songs after all these years?
Oh, well, the people we really care about are the people who have never bought a TISM album and who were persuaded to go along because they knew one song. They are our crusted-on fan base. And, these bands who disrespect people who these are the sort of people who think it goes, what are you? You're a wanker. They are our constituency, Paul, and we would like to meet all of them and take them out to dinner because, they are very, very special people. And so I don't want to, these kind of Tom York types who walk off stage when someone yells out something inappropriate. Well, it's just not on, Paul.
Well, I think we're getting a bit of a parade in the background there, but it's not coming up on the screen. He's jumped off already. We've lost him.
Yes, it's time to go, Paul.
All right. Good to see you.